Welcome back to the Suburban Protector Podcast. I'm Mike Kneuer, and today I want to talk about a question I get more than almost any other. Somebody buys their first handgun, they get it home, and they look at it sitting on the kitchen counter and they think, okay, now what? What else do I actually need? And the honest answer surprises people, because most of what you need isn't sold at the gun counter. So let's walk through it, a real checklist in order of what actually matters. Let me break this into 4 buckets, because people almost always overinvest in one and completely ignore the other 3. Bucket 1 is knowledge. That's the safety rules and the laws that apply where you live. Bucket 2 is storage, how the firearm is secured when it's not on your body. Bucket 3 is protective equipment. That's the eye and ear protection that keeps training from costing you your hearing. And bucket 4 is skill, the trained ability to handle, load, unload, and shoot the thing safely and accurately. Count how many of those you buy at a gun shop. 1. And that ordering is deliberate. I'd much rather have a student who's taken 2 classes and keeps a basic handgun in a quality lockbox than one who owns 5 guns with a red dot on every one and has never had an hour of formal instruction. So let's start with bucket 1. The rules. Every safe gun owner runs off the same short list. The National Shooting Sports Foundation publishes 10 rules, and the first 4 do most of the heavy lifting. 1. Always keep the muzzle pointed in a safe direction. 2. Firearms should be unloaded when not actually in use. 3. Don't rely on your gun safety. 4. Be sure of your target and what's beyond it. The NSSF is very direct about why that first one matters most. Their words, roughly. If everyone handled a firearm so carefully that the muzzle never pointed at something they didn't intend to shoot, there would be virtually no firearms accidents. And a safe direction doesn't just mean away from people in the room. It means a direction where a bullet could not possibly strike anyone, accounting for ricochets and for the fact that bullets go through walls and ceilings. In an apartment or a townhouse, in a lot of the neighborhoods we serve around Boynton Beach, that's a real consideration, not a hypothetical. The second rule comes with a habit I want you to build on purpose. Anytime you pick up a firearm or somebody hands you one, you open the action immediately and visually check the chamber, the receiver, and the magazine. Every time. Never assume a gun is unloaded. Check it yourself. All right, bucket 2. Storage. And I'll say this plainly, if you buy one thing after the firearm itself, buy storage. Not an optic, not a light, not a fancy holster. Storage. What's right depends on your house. If you live alone, no kids, no visitors, a simple locking container might genuinely be enough. If you've got children, teenagers, or people in and out regularly, you need something that resists curiosity and casual attempts at getting in. And if that firearm is your home defense gun, you need a container that opens fast and reliably in the dark, under stress, without fumbling for a key. For most families, that means 2 things. A quick access lockbox by the bed, a simplex mechanical lock, or a well-reviewed biometric unit, plus a bigger locking cabinet or safe for anything you're not keeping ready. First, bolt or tether that quick access box to something structural. If it isn't secured, congratulations. You've bought a burglar a convenient carrying case with your guns already inside it. That happens, a lot. Second, actually test the opening mechanism, regularly, in low light, eyes closed. A safe you can't open under stress is not a home defense solution. It's just a box. Now, Florida law, this one matters and I want to be precise. Florida Statute 790.174 says that if you store or leave a loaded firearm on premises under your control, and you know or reasonably should know that a minor is likely to gain access to it without lawful permission or the required supervision, you have to keep it in a securely locked box or container or in a place a reasonable person would believe is secure or secured with a trigger lock. The exception is if you're carrying it on your body or close enough to grab and use it as quickly as if you were. If you violate that, and as a result, a minor gets access and possesses or displays it in a public place or in a rude, careless, angry, or threatening manner, that's a second-degree misdemeanor. And under that statute, a minor means anyone under the age of 16. But I want to be careful here. That statute is a floor. It's not a goal. It describes the minimum conduct that keeps you out of criminal trouble. It does not describe good practice. There are setups that technically satisfy 790.174 and are still a bad idea in a house with a curious 11-year-old and their friends over on a Saturday. Aim well above the legal minimum, and if you've got a specific situation, talk to a Florida attorney. Don't take legal advice from a podcast, including this one. Bucket 3, eye and ear protection. This is the most commonly skimped on category, and the consequences are permanent. Eye protection needs to meet the ANSI Z87.1 standard. That's the certification for impact and splash resistance. You need it because shooting throws off debris constantly. Powder, residue, oil, ejected brass, fragments bouncing off target hangers and backstops. Wraparound designs are better because they block what comes from the side. Your regular sunglasses do not qualify. They're not rated, and under impact, they can become the thing that injures you. Hearing protection deserves more attention than it gets, because hearing loss adds up and it does not come back. The standard among experienced shooters is to double up indoors. Foam plugs underneath muffs. Outdoors, plugs alone are usually fine. And if you're taking instruction, electronic muffs are a genuine upgrade. They suppress the gunshot but amplify normal conversation, so you can actually hear your instructor correcting you instead of nodding along and missing half of it. I watch students learn measurably faster with electronic ears. It's not a luxury item. Which brings me to the range bag. Minimum viable, eye protection, hearing protection, inner and outer, your firearm in a case or holster, magazines, ammunition, targets, a stapler or tape, and a small cleaning kit. Then a few South Florida additions, closed-toe shoes always, hot brass fine sandals, a ball cap with a brim, water, because an outdoor range in Palm Beach County in July is genuinely taxing, and a shirt with a high neckline. I'm serious. Brass down the collar is the most common cause of unsafe reactive movement I see from new shooters. Hot casing goes down the shirt, they dance. And now there's a loaded gun going places nobody planned. Okay. Bucket 4, and this is the one that matters most and gets the smallest share of the budget almost every time. Training. A firearm is a tool that demands trained competence. Handling it under stress. Drawing without sweeping your own hand. Reloading without looking down. Making an accurate hit at a realistic distance. And deciding correctly whether to shoot at all. Not one of those comes in the box. Not one is granted to you by a better sight or a nicer trigger. A reasonable path for a new owner. Start with a foundational safety and marksmanship class. Then live fire practice with a specific goal each session, not just making noise, an actual goal. Then a defensive handgun course once your fundamentals are stable. And in between, dry practice at home. Verified unloaded firearm, no ammunition in the room, full stop. It's free. And it closes the gap between range visits better than anything else you can do. Now, home defense preparedness beyond the gun, because the non-firearm pieces are honestly more likely to get used. Keep a bright flashlight right next to your storage container. You cannot legally or ethically shoot at something you haven't identified, and identifying it requires light. Keep a charged phone in reach, and know your own address well enough to say it clearly to a dispatcher while your heart rate is through the roof. That sounds silly until it isn't. Keep a stock trauma kit, tourniquet, pressure dressing, gloves, somewhere anybody in the house can reach it, and learn to use it. You are far more likely to use a tourniquet on a car accident victim than to use a firearm defensively. And then have the conversation nobody wants to have. Where does each person go? Who calls 911? What's the plan if the family's split across 2 floors? A household plan you talk through calmly in daylight is worth more than any equipment you can buy. Last thing. Knowing the law before you need it. First, eligibility. Federal law prohibits certain categories of people from possessing firearms. Anyone convicted of a felony in any federal, state, or other court. Unlawful users of controlled substances, and several other categories. They're spelled out on ATF Form 4473, the transaction record you fill out at a licensed dealer before the background check runs. If anything in your history raises a question, resolve it with an attorney before you try to buy, not after. Second, use of force. Knowing when you may lawfully display or use a firearm in Florida is at least as important as knowing how to shoot one, and it's genuinely complicated. That's a subject for a qualified instructor and a Florida attorney, not internet forums. So let me tie this together into something you can actually run. Monthly, dry practice, and confirm your storage container still opens smoothly. quarterly. A live fire session with a written goal, and check that your defensive ammunition and your batteries are current. Twice a year, full storage audit, and review the safety rules with everyone in the household. Annually, take a formal class, because instruction catches the drift in your fundamentals that you genuinely cannot see in yourself. None of that requires you to be a gun enthusiast. It just requires treating a firearm the way you'd treat any other serious responsibility in your home. Maintenance, review, and a plan. If you want help with any of this, that's what we do. Suburban Protector runs private and small group firearm instruction in Boynton Beach, throughout Palm Beach County, and up into Port St. Lucie, Stewart, Wellington, Okeechobee, and Broward. Whether you bought your first handgun last week or you've owned one for 10 years without formal training, we'll meet you exactly where you are. Give me a call at 561-132974 or email mike@suburbanprotector.com. Thanks for listening. Stay safe, keep it locked up, and go get some training.